So depending on how long you push this nib on to the marker will depend on how light the gradient will be and how long the gradient will be there for. If you push it on there for only a couple seconds, then the colorless blender will pretty much wear out and the darker orange color will appear. So I'll show you. I've been holding this one on together. I guess you could say that the nibs are basically kissing once you lock it down into place. So once I take it off, I start to color and see, you can hardly see anything is even there, but as I color more, you see it's starting to be almost a yellow, light orange color, and I'll just keep going. And now it's the darkest that it can be. So it just provides a nice ombre gradient from light to dark. And like I said, however long you hold on the colorless blender to the tip will depend on how long it takes for that gradient to change. So let's try different colors. Let's try this pink, and we'll do the light pink with it. I'll only hold these two together for a little bit and see how it doesn't really do much of a gradient if you don't hold the color top pen on it for very long. So I will use the colorless blender. This time I'll show you guys the bullet nib side, and then I'll put it on top. And it's basically transferring the colorless blender onto the nib of the other pen. And you also want to hold it upright so that the ink can transfer down with gravity. If you hold it the other way, then it won't work very well. Okay, so I didn't hold that one on for an extreme amount of time, but you could also write and as you can see, it starts light and then gets darker. Let me put it on for a little longer. See, we're starting light and getting darker as we go along. So these are really great for, you know, adult coloring books, but I personally am a lettering and calligraphy artist as well as watercolor, but these work perfect with my lettering pieces. I like to make pieces like this, like we'll be making later today, just because it just provides such an awesome array of colors, and it's really easy to do. Also, I can use them and have so many different color combinations, and you know, you can pick colors that don't even go together. It doesn't have to be colors that are similar. It can be, I can choose pink and light blue, and pink and light blue would go well together if I had the color top pen for it. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah from Sarahstyledesigns, and today I'm here to talk about these Chameleon color tone markers. I am a lettering, calligraphy, watercolor artist, and I've been doing this for about 1.5 years. But I have been using these Chameleon markers for about 6 months, and I absolutely love these markers. They're totally unique to any other markers or pens that I've ever used before. as you can see, this is a piece that I made with the Chameleon markers, and I just absolutely love it because the transition between color to color is absolutely seamless. So I will talk more about the markers later today, but first let's just talk about one single marker. So the Chameleon Marker is an alcohol-based pen that's permanent on most surfaces. It's non-toxic and low odor. What I really like about them is they have two different kinds of tips. So they have the brush tip, which is the tip that I primarily use, but they also have on the other side a bullet tip, which is also really handy, and I know other artists use them too in like adult coloring books or other art pieces like that, but I primarily am a lettering artist, so I like to use these markers with my lettering artwork. And then the other part of this marker is, I call it like a colorless chamber. Basically, there's a colorless nib, and how you use it is you place it on top of the colored nib, and basically the ends kiss, and you want to hold it upright so that gravity helps the ink to flow down. So right now it's transferring the colorless ink onto the dark purple ink. So what this does is it allows this pen to create a full range of tones. So it can go from super light with only like a hint of color to a super rich dark purple tone. So I have some paper here. So I basically have left it on for quite a while, but if I color, you'll see that it's just a hint of purple, if even any purple at all. And as I continue to color, you see how it's starting to get a little darker. To its richest, purest tone, which is over here. So it's nice because I can have a really light color, a medium color, or a dark color. So however long you place the colorless chamber on top will depend on how light it will be and how long it will stay light for. So the longer you place the chamber on top of the marker, then the longer it'll take for the marker to get dark again. If you place it on for just a short amount of time, like if I just place this on for 5 seconds and then I take it off, it already starts, it still starts light, but it transitions pretty quick. So it's awesome that with one color you can make just a wide variety of tones. You just have to experiment on the time and see what works for you. I'll show you guys the bullet nib. So I just placed the colorless chamber on top, and you want to hold it vertical so that the ink flows down. I'm letting the colorless blender ink transfer down to the purple ink. And you could write something. Hello. So you can see it goes from light to dark, or you can, I'll hold it on for only a couple seconds again, and this is the bullet nib. Which the bullet nib is great for fine details too. So that's one way how you would use just one pen. So just one pen did all that. with the brush side, this is how we used it, and I placed the Colorless Chamber on top for a long time, so it took a long time for it to produce a darker gradient. This was just the Colorless Chamber was held on for only a short time, and then this was used with the bullet nib. So let's talk about these special little markers called Chameleon color tops. Now these come in a separate set, usually of 5, I believe, and what these do is it multiplies the amount of color combinations you can produce with a Chameleon color marker. So sometimes people get confused and just buy these by themselves without having the regular Chameleon markers, and this by itself will do nothing. You actually have to have the Chameleon marker, these pair together. So you need a Chameleon marker and you need a Chameleon color top marker. So the Chameleon color top markers are awesome because basically it's similar to the chamber that I just talked about on like the Colorless Chamber, except this chamber has color. So what that does is it produces a color to color blend, and it's smooth, seamless. Like I said before, it's totally different from any other marker. I've blended numerous amounts of pens, and this is the absolute smoothest transition that I've ever gotten with any kind of markers or pens or anything like that. And it's super simple. You would think that you can't blend colors that are, you know, on opposite sides of the spectrum, but you actually can, and I'm going to show you that you can blend this fuchsia color with this aquamarine color. So usually if you were just using regular pens, you really couldn't do that because it would produce a harsh line and it wouldn't be a smooth transition at all. So I will show you how to do that. Okay, so I am going to place this aquamarine color on top of the fuchsia color, and again I'm using the brush nib because that's the nib I prefer. So I'm going to place it on top, and I know it's probably hard for you to see, but I can actually already see the ink transferring onto the pink nib. So I'm going to just lightly color. And as you can see, it's just seamless. It goes from the aquamarine, and then it gets to a, you know, darker purple blue color to pink. But there's no harsh lines. It's not difficult to blend like that. It's super simple. So we are going to make a piece like this. I actually created the line art, the black lines, on my iPad, and then I printed it out onto mixed media paper. I usually use mixed media paper for blending because it is thick enough to withstand the blending, and I just prefer it with these markers. So this is one I printed out actually onto the mixed media paper, and this is what we'll be coloring in today. So I'll put this one to the side, and like I said, it's definitely not even going to look the same as this because I don't remember how long I put the Colorless Chamber onto the marker for, so it's definitely not going to look the same, but I know it'll still look amazing with the blends because these pens just work perfectly for that. So for the top letters I used indigo and turquoise, so I'm going to use those again. And because it's a thin, short area to blend, I don't hold it on for very long. Okay, I'll take it off. And I like to hold my paper sideways because I feel like that's easier to color that way. So when you color, you don't want to push really hard on the marker, even though it's the brush nib, because if you're pushing really hard on the nib, if you have color at the very tip, you won't have color down here, so it will look like a two-tone gradient when you're coloring, which is a cool effect sometimes, but that's not the effect that I want right now. So I'm going to hold it on again, hold the pen up and down, and then it helps too to overlap it a little bit when you're coloring, just to make it a smoother transition. Okay, so next we're going to color this banner, and I'm going to do it rainbow. So I'll kind of explain how we're going to do it, because it does take some thinking. You actually do have to kind of plan it out to make sure that your colors blend seamlessly, and you make sure you have similar colors next to similar colors for this rainbow. Okay, so first to start with the banner, I'm going to use a red, crimson red, and place it on to tangerine. Now for this part, since I'm starting with the red will come out first, so I'm going to start coloring here, and this is where the red will be, and it will transition to orange as you go to the right. So I think last time I held it on for too long. So okay, so I think I'm going to stop there. And this time, I'm going to use, it's a different color orange and mellow yellow. And I'm going to place the orange on top. And again, with this combination, the orange will be on top and the yellow will come next. So I will go on the banner left to right. With some combinations, I might have to turn it upside down and work from there. See, I didn't plan this perfect because this is actually a darker orange than the last orange I used. So you can definitely see that. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. So even though you can kind of see the transition right there, but even if I went over with a little bit of tangerines, which was this color, I think it might blend. That's the good thing with these. If you make mistakes, it's okay. It kind of helps what I did just then to kind of blend it more seamlessly. So next, I'm going to use a little bit different yellow with grass green. And again, I prefer to do the transitions from left to right, but if I had to turn my paper the other way too, it's not a big deal. So I'm holding it on there, letting the ink go with gravity. When it does come to the light, to the dark pens, you do want to give it a little more time. I feel like personally, if you don't give it enough time, then it can create a harsh line if you don't give it enough time. So hopefully I gave it enough time. And if you do notice that there's a little bit of a line, like I said, just kind of go over it, overlap it a little bit, and then it helps to be an easier transition instead of just a harsh half yellow, half green. So next, I'm going to use green on top of sky blue. So the reason why I'm not just going from like blue to purple right now is because then it would have that harsh line from green to blue. That's why I'm using the color top for just a little bit to give it a transition. That way it's not just straight green, blue. It's more of a transition. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start from here and work my way back and hopefully get a nice smooth transition. Slightly darker. So now I turn my piece back around and I'm going to put the dark blue onto the purple and go from dark blue to purple. And I'm going to do a little purple down here. Now I'm going to use a lighter pink to go on top of the purple. And again, I'm going to turn my piece around so that I can go from light pink to purple. And I'm waiting a little bit longer because, like I said, if you go from a really light color to a dark color, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for the light color to really show up. So I'll start here. And see, you can kind of already see that the purple is showing through already, which is okay, because on the next one I'm going to use the light pink again on this dark pink. And I'm going to turn it around again because I'm going to go from light pink to dark pink. Okay. So on this next part right here, I have just lettered this, which is kind of like a monoline style. And what I like to do is create like a 3D style, like I have right here, where you basically include shadows. I make it look like the sun is coming from the top left corner and shining down. So the shadow would basically be on the right of the letter and underneath the letter as well. So I'll kind of show you as I go along how I do that. So this is the kind of look that we're going to go for. Also, as you can tell, the two banners are not even close to being the same. So like I said before, it's really difficult unless you time exactly how long you held each colorless chamber onto each pen. It's really difficult to get the exact same results unless you time it and you're exactly precise. So but I just like that it's unpredictable and you can kind of do whatever you want and get different results with the same pens. So I'm gonna do a rainbow, same rainbow color scheme that we did before. So I'll be using all the same colors that I used before. This time you don't have to push the colorless chamber on for very long because I'm just gonna go in a short distance. I don't want it to be a really long gradient. Okay, so I'm gonna put the shadow to the right and also from the bottom. And this kind of gives a 3D effect. Just like that. Now I'm going to move on to different colors. Let's do orange and yellow. Again, only holding it together for a short amount of time. Now the good thing about doing this on my iPad and printing it out is that this ink won't smear at all because it's printed, so it's not going to smear. If you want to do the 3D style. Okay, so now I'll place the yellow on top of the green. Like I said, just for a little bit. I actually really like the effect where the yellow, it's like part yellow, part green. For some pieces, I think it looks really great. So again, there's so many different ways you can just experiment and see what works for you. So now I'm going to do an aquamarine onto a sky blue. And also with the shadows, remember to the left, or I'm sorry, to the right. And then I go slightly underneath the letter 2. Okay, now I'm going to do blue onto the purple. Also, I tell people too that when you're going from the top and from the bottom, you want to start gradual. So you don't want to just do a harsh, thick line. You want to start with a thin line underneath and then gradually thicken your line as it goes up. Next, I'll do light pink. And I'm not so worried about the colors transitioning like I worried up here because they're not connected so closely. It's not as easy to see if there was going to be a harsh line in this part as it is up here in this banner. So okay, and I think we will start back at red. Red and orange. And then orange and yellow. Only for a little bit. And I will even continue down here because the yellow hasn't fully shown through yet. So, there. Let's see, I'll do a yellow to green. See, I just love the way that that is yellow and green. And that's also what happens too with this nib when you push too hard. If you push really hard on the nib, then you're going to get both of those colors. And that's why I talked about earlier, when you are blending, you don't want to push super hard on the nib because that's what's going to happen if you're trying to get like a smooth blend like this. But in this case, I'm going for this look and I'm okay with it having two colors in the one line. You just want to watch your pressure if you're doing a gradient like this. You want to, when you're coloring, you want to color a little bit lighter so that you don't get these lines when you're going back and forth of yellow and green. You only want the color that you transferred from the color top pen. And I'm going to continue over here because the blue hasn't come through yet. There it is. Okay. So at the bottom here, I'm going to continue with the same gradient that I used at the top, but I'm going to go from the dark blue to the turquoise color. The turquoise will be up top and the dark blue will be on the bottom. So I'm going to actually turn my piece around And I'm going to place indigo on the turquoise. And remember, you don't have to place it for very long because this is a small area that you're coloring. So you really, it doesn't need to be on there for that long. And like I talked about, if you do get a couple of harsh lines, just go back up over them. Let's see if I can kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. So if I push hard, you can kind of see that it's making almost like the zigzag, so I just try to go over it. And it's not perfect, but it's a way to kind of cover up mistakes if you make mistakes. But that's why with the tip, you don't want to push down really hard, because if you push down hard, you're going to get both colors that you're going to get the dark blue and you're going to get the turquoise color. So light pressure so that you're just coloring with the tip. And like I said before, it takes some experimenting on the time with how long you should hold the colorless chamber onto the marker for, but you can experiment and see what works for you. It kind of depends on how big the piece is that you're working on. Okay, so that's that for that piece. So as you can see, this is the piece that we just made. And then this is the piece that I had made previously. So they're not identical, but I really like the results of both of them. So these are a couple of other pieces that I've made previously. You can find the videos on my Instagram. But sometimes I'll also do a gradient where I will color for a little bit, and then once it turns to the original color, I'll stop there. And then I'll put the colorless chamber on the pen again, turn it around, and color again until the original color meets in the middle. And that way it kind of gives just a different kind of effect. As you can see, I just pick, you know, sometimes I'll pick colors from the same color family. Other times I'll pick rainbow colors. Other times when I'm stuck, I'll just pick two random colors together and see what I can come up with. And it turns out perfect usually. Just because the colors that even that you wouldn't think would go together sometimes go perfect together, especially with these markers because of the way that they blend. So I actually just picked some random colors. This is Spring Meadow and this is Blue Violet. And I'm going to show you how I get the transition from light to dark to light again. So I'm going to start by holding this. So the green will start off, the light green will start off, and then it'll go to the blue violet. So we want the blue violet to be in the middle. Alright, so and sometimes If I'm waiting and it takes too long, then I'll kind of go back over where I was going and overlap a bit. So now I'm going to turn it over and do a little bit of green. And meet them in the middle. So it goes light, dark, light. And again, the timing wasn't perfect because I wanted this to be in the middle, but it doesn't work out perfect every time. So, but still, when going from the light green to the blue indigo, it's still a seamless transition. So I'll try it here. I didn't hold it on for as long because I want more of the blue violet to stand out. Okay, so I'll stop there because you can see the blue coming through, and I'll hold the green on top of the blue again. I'm going to turn it around. Take it off. And there we go again. Green, blue, green. So I'm going to do it again. This is fawn and this is lavender. So these are two completely random colors that I picked. I have no idea how this will turn out. It's an experiment, so we're going to find out together how this will look. So these black boxes I just hand drew quickly. These were used with a black paint pen. Like I said, these are permanent, so once they're dry, then it doesn't interfere with the alcohol ink. Okay, I don't know how this will turn out. We'll see. Okay, I like that. I like that color combination. So as you can see, I can pick just two random different colors that don't match or go together, and it will still blend seamlessly. So I'll try to do the light, dark, light gradient with this and see if I can get it right. Even in this piece right here, you can see that the spots in the middle are not perfect. So this one will have a lot of purple in the middle. So I'll stop there. I'll turn it around. But I'm also, you know, I'm not too concerned if it's perfect here or not, because sometimes that's just the way that art is. You can't make everything perfect, but that's what makes it unique. Okay. So there. We went from light, I guess not light, dark, light, but from here it's like the nude color, the fawn color to the lavender, back to the fawn color. And that looks really nice in a lot of lettering pieces. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you learned a little bit about the chameleon markers and how you can use them in your calligraphy and lettering pieces. It's not just for, you know, coloring adult color books or other art, but you can definitely use these in your lettering pieces. And actually I get so many comments about these markers. Where can I get these? How do you use them? On my Instagram page, some of the videos that I make with these pens get the highest views, and people just absolutely love them, which I love them too. So if you get a chance to check them out, you definitely should, because they will change your calligraphy and lettering, and they're just absolutely unique, and you won't find any other marker like it. So I really hope you check them out and enjoy them. Thank you.